Good evening, everybody. This is Danny Thompson with the BuzzCity post-game show for game number 26 against the Memphis Grizzlies. And this is the most comprehensive post-game show you're going to find involving your Charlotte Hornets here on Happs TV, YouTube, Facebook Live, and anywhere you hear the sound of my voice. Once again, my name is Danny Thompson, senior NBA writer for the 3pointconversion.com, covering your Charlotte Hornets. Also, follow me on Happs TV. As you said, you see in the corner, you'll see Happs.tv with the @ of Danny Thompson. Download the app so that way you can always subscribe to the show and also subscribe to all my work so you know exactly when I go live, because we don't really have a time when the show goes on a nightly basis. Also, follow me on Twitter at Danny DANNY number 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as the YouTube page, which is the 3-point conversion, Beyond the Buzzer, as well as Around the Association. So, at the same time, if you download the Happs app, you can subscribe to the work and also join 100 free coins, which you can also donate to the cause as well too, because we always take the collection plates as well. All right, so if you also have contacts, if you also decide to drop a comment in the box, as you see my main man, Mike Patton, in the corner. Yes. You see the comments in the post down there. I also put them on the air. Appreciate it, Mike, for stopping through. Mr. Controversy Raphael in the building. Mr. Controversy himself. Just giving stop by showing some love. And also my main man, Mike Patton, like I said, and Cortland Griffin as well. So let's get into the game tonight. And yes, Mike, I will answer the question about LaMelo Ball in just one moment. Well, for the last 2 games, the Charlotte Hornets have actually played some really good basketball. 2 games in a row, under 100 points allowed on defense, and Charlotte had a chance to cruise in the last 2 games against a Houston Rockets team that was missing three key players, and the Washington Wizards, who are missing pretty much the entire franchise other than Bradley Beal. Hornets won both games impressively and played some of their best basketball of the season. And tonight, I said before, the game tonight was going to be a hard one. This was the game I call the game of horror, because what happens is the Memphis Grizzlies are a team that basically just haunts the Charlotte Hornets. And the reason being is that Jonas Valanciunas has always done well against the Charlotte Hornets. And it was more than just Valanciunas tonight. Before you can blame anything, the three-point problem was a problem tonight. Charlotte gave up another ton of 3-pointers, and we'll dissect the whole game from top to bottom. My main man Jack over on Happs, I appreciate you dropping the 50 cents in the plate as well. I appreciate it. And also my main man Matt over on Facebook said address the issues. We'll get to them as many as possible. Let's start from the very top. First quarter, Charlotte came out and played one of the best offensive quarters in the season. They got 38 points in the first quarter. They got and Terry Rozier got off to an outstanding start. After struggling the last couple of games, getting back to himself, he caught fire in the second half in the last game against Houston. But first quarter tonight, it looked like the Terry Rozier that we saw in the early part of the season. He had 13 points, 5 of 6 shooting. Cody Zeller was doing well. LaMelo Ball had 8 points. But the problem came in when the substitutions happened. Memphis comes into the league as the second best scoring team on the bench in the NBA this season at 41 points a game, and the bench didn't disappoint in the first quarter. Why? Because once again, Charlotte allowed guys to start hitting 3-pointers. Grayson Allen came in and knocked down 4 3-pointers in the first quarter, and you could just tell the sign. When Dillon Brooks got in foul trouble, Allen came in. He knocked down 4 threes in the first quarter. Charlotte kept the lead at 38-34. It was a tight-knit battle. You go into the second quarter, and Terry Rozier was still on fire. Rozier had one of his best first halves of the season. He finished with 24 in the first half, had 11 in the quarter as well. Listen, Rozier played well. You got to give Rozier credit, but here was the underlying problem. The Memphis bench started warming up. Tyrus Jones knocked down a couple more 3-pointers, and this became, like I said, the issue of the 3-point shot. We get into halftime, like I said, there's not too much more to talk about, but it was a back-and-forth game. Rozier hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer, and the Hornets are down 78-60 at halftime. Del Curry's main thing all season was stop allowing 30 points in the quarter, and the Hornets allowed it twice. The Grizzlies had 4 guys in double figures in the first half, led by Grayson Allen at 16. John Morant had 14. Valanciunas was killing the Hornets, especially on the rebound again, 12 points and 9 rebounds, 6 of those on the offensive glass. Well, third quarter comes around, and then the wheels fall off. Charlotte all season had been one of the best teams in the NBA when it comes to defending in the third quarter. Well, that went out the wayside. On top of the fact of they couldn't guard the 3, Kyle Anderson, who's got arguably one of the slowest shots in the NBA, was just sitting in the corner all day long, shooting corner 3s like this was double dribble. If you don't know double dribble, that's testing my age over here. He looked like the guy on the Boston Frogs shooting in the 3-pointer in the corner. It was knockdown 3s left and right. He had 4 of them in the third quarter. This was a game where, once again, it was not pretty. Hornets allowed 6 3-pointers in the quarter, and the Grizzlies just pretty much pulled ahead. Charlotte couldn't do anything, shot 30% in the quarter. They struggled. And at this point, it was a 18-point game to start the fourth quarter, and the Hornets pretty much got blown away in the fourth quarter as well, too, even though they outscored the Grizzlies by 2. Final score tonight, and it was the only quarter of the game where the Grizzlies didn't hit 30. 130 to 114. It was not a pretty effort. It wasn't too much to talk about. If you didn't watch the game, you didn't miss much either. It was pretty much Charlotte got their head kicked in behind the three-point line. And when you get your head kicked in once again, it turns again. For the third time in the last third time in about 15 days, the Hornets have allowed a team to hit 20 or more three-pointers in a game. That's how bad it was. The Grizzlies set a franchise record, not a Memphis record, not a Vancouver record, a franchise record with 22 three-pointers. This is the second time this year where a team has set a franchise record, and the second time in a week, in less than 5 days, a team has set a franchise record from behind the three-point line. 12 of those three-pointers came from the corners. Charlotte is arguably the worst defending team in the corner from the three-point line. I asked Terry Rozier the question after the game, what's been the issue? Well, he said that with the way they play defense, it is a problem with corner threes. We saw it in the Jazz game. We've seen it all season long. Charlotte just allows three-pointers in the corner. Like it's I don't know. It was unbearable. Tonight, I think the Grizzlies, went 12 of 19 from the corners on the three-point line. Like I said, Kyle Anderson, I think, had 3 of them in the corner in the third quarter by itself. All right, stat lines for the night. Hornets were led by Terry Rozier, 34 points in 33 minutes. He was shooting the ball on fire tonight. It reminded me of the game he had against Cleveland, which they lost as well, too. It's Terry's third 30-point game of the season, and all 30-point games have been on the road. LaMelo Ball had 17 points and 5 assists in 28 minutes. Gordon Hayward had 15 points, and Miles Bridges had his third double-double in a row with 15 points and 10 rebounds off the bench for the Hornets. For the Grizzlies tonight, listen, 7 guys in double figures, led by Kyle Anderson, who had I'm just going to say this. Like I said, we're talking franchise and career highs tonight. Let's continue with this. And besides the 23 three-pointers that the Grizzlies hit, Kyle Anderson, career high, 6 three-pointers. Grayson Allen fell one short of his career high with 5 three-pointers in the game. Valanciunas had 15 rebounds. Dylan Brooks, after getting a foul from the first half, he had 20 points. John Morant, who's arguably a guy who didn't play in the first game, 15 points and 11 assists. All right, so Mike Patton's first question was, why was LaMelo Ball not playing in the fourth quarter? All right. For those who've watched this show and know what James Borrego has been talking about over the last, since the season started, is controlling the minutes of LaMelo Ball. And tonight it wasn't about performance, because I asked him the question at postgame tonight, why LaMelo played in the fourth quarter, it wasn't because of his effort tonight. Normally, you would think he had a bad game defensively. No, it's really about the minutes. If you go back to the game where he played 40 minutes, I think it was the second game after the injury. Coach Borrego had mentioned the fact of he didn't want to play LaMelo that many minutes. Okay, tonight he played 29 minutes. He played 9 minutes in the second half and all in the third quarter. Didn't play in the fourth quarter. Listen, I know it's not the right answer people want to hear, but what the answer really is the Hornets have played 7 games in 11 days. LaMelo's played in 30 minutes of those games, all but tonight. They still got 2 more games in 3 more nights, and before they get a couple of days off before they play Chicago on Wednesday. They play Friday, they play Sunday. All right. It's not the best answer, but here's the realness of this. Rookies hit walls. In a condensed season where there's so many games in so many days, and there's not enough practice time, there's not enough rest time. The guys have 1 day off, and they're practicing tomorrow. There's not enough time to rest your body. And also, when you don't have Devontae Graham, who's out with a groin injury, and if anybody who's had a groin injury knows this, you don't know how long you're out for. I mean, he's questionable for Friday's game and maybe even in Sunday's game, but with a groin, you don't know. It's one of those injuries, and at this point, you don't want to rush Devontae back either. So when you don't have Devontae, Terry is pretty much a de facto backup point guard. Malik Monk can handle the basketball, but he makes a lot of mistakes with the basketball. And Gordon Hayward is a playmaker, just not really a true ball handler. LaMelo Ball is really the only true point guard on this roster at this point in time. And trying to run the kid ragged in a short period of time is not easy, and it also runs him to a wall. I know everyone say he's 19 years old. He's 19 years old. He can run for days. Remember, this kid played 13 games in Australia. All right, his season ended literally, I think, at the end of December of 2019. All right, he didn't play basketball for almost a year. You don't want rookies to hit the wall. It's going to eventually happen, but with the days off, then they have the couple of games next week, and then you have the road trip. Then you have the entire week off for the All-Star game. The object is not to have this kid hit the wall before the All-Star game. All right. We want LaMelo at his best. It's eventually going to happen. Rookies at the wall. But the longer you prolong the rookie wall, the better. And let's be honest, they were down by 18 points. The Grizzlies was hitting every three-pointer they shot, it seemed like. They took 48 threes, they hit 28 of them. I think this is the first time I can remember in a game where a team got outshot from the field. I'm talking percentage-wise, who outshot the other team from the field, from the three-point line, and still lost the game. The Hornets basically had a better field goal percentage and a better three-point percentage than the Grizzlies. The problem was, even though Charlotte shot 55% from the floor and almost 49% from the three-point line, they hit 9 less three-pointers, and the Grizzlies took 20 more threes. It's really the big difference in the game. On top of that, Charlotte had 18 turnovers, and the Grizzlies basically punished them for every turnover, 25 of them. You want to talk about another problem tonight? Was the rebounding. The Grizzlies got 19 offensive rebounds tonight. Another problem with Charlotte, as we learned all season, that Charlotte just struggles rebounding, and Valanciunas killed them. Gorgie Jing had 8 rebounds off the bench. John Concar, not to be confused with John Koncak, also had 6 rebounds off the bench for the Grizzlies. This was a complete Grizzlies effort. And even though they didn't have Brandon Clark and DeAndre Melton in the lineup tonight, Charlotte just got outplayed tonight. I mean, like I said, when you have Kyle Anderson hitting 6 threes in the game, this just reminded me of the Jazz game from Friday when everybody was just shooting threes and it was going in. The only difference is that the Grizzlies just were doing it from guys off the bench. Like I said, Grayson Allen knocked down 5. Tyrus Jones knocked down 3 in the game. Seemed like everything he was going was in. Brooks hit 4. Anderson hit 6. Desmond Bane even knocked down 4. They were just getting threes from everywhere tonight. And even James Borrego said about the defense, it's got to be more effort. It's just more effort. And Charlotte got outplayed tonight. Maybe it was the fact that they played a lot of games. It's been 7 games in 11 days. It's a lot, and traveling. This is not easy. Memphis is one of the better teams in the NBA when it comes to being off the bench. They have guys who can score as well. It's hard. It wasn't a pretty game tonight, and I don't know much more I can say about it. It really wasn't much to be said in post game tonight. The play was pretty much shown. Charlotte can't defend the three-pointer, and no matter if LaMelo Ball played in the fourth quarter or not, it's not going. It just wasn't their night. What Charlotte needs to do is the fourth time in less than 3 weeks that the Hornets have allowed a team to set a season high from behind the three-point line. I don't want to say it's borderline laughable, but the effort is not there. It just wasn't there. And no matter what line of rotation Charlotte had on the floor tonight, it really just wasn't. It just wasn't there. Miles got good energy, but he was a negative 23 tonight. Malik played okay. His shot wasn't falling from the floor. Give Cody Martin this, and this is a great stat from Cody Martin. Cody Martin is the NBA's leader per 48 minutes in charges taken. Hey, listen, Charlotte's got to lead something. And Cody Martin is now third in the NBA with 9 charges taken so far this season. He's one of the best defensive players in the league when it comes to taking charges. He's one of their better defenders as well, too. And the question is, why does Charlotte play so much zone? Well, if you look at the way Charlotte defends as a team, as far as on-ball defenders, there's only 2 guys on the roster that you really can leave on ball as far as defensive-wise. Everybody else has to play in the zone. Okay, Terry Rozier is really good on ball, and so is Miles Bridges. Everybody else is suspect or just not happening. PJ plays defense at times, but he has to play at the rim because there's no rim protection. Okay, Cody plays as well as he can. He's not been an elite defender. He's just solid. All right, the same thing with Biyombo. Biyombo does protect the rim, but Biz is limited for certain reasons, and we all know what they are. Devontae is 5'11", 6 foot, depends on what you ask him that day. So he's not, he knows how to play the zone, but because he's a smaller guard, he gets it taken advantage of. LaMelo is still learning defense. He is long and active, but when it comes to situations where it's one-on-one, he's not very good at that. He's getting better. This is not as bad as it was in Australia, I'll tell you that. Caleb Martin, he's okay. He gives effort. He's not as good as his brother defensively, Cody, and Malik Monk is hit and miss. It's either he's playing defense or he's not. There is no medium with Malik at this point. Like I said, I mentioned Hayward. I think I pretty much hit everybody in the rotation. But yeah, it was just a rough night. And now the Hornets are now getting ready to go back home. They have the Minnesota Timberwolves on Friday night with the returning Karl Anthony Towns, who's back in the lineup tonight. Listen, what to look for on Thursday night, on Friday night against the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves have been bad. Yes, their record's horrible, and they don't play defense, which is good for Charlotte because Charlotte loves to be able to run up and down. The big issue, the reason why they've been bad is that Karl-Anthony Towns has missed 13 consecutive games going into tonight because he was battling COVID. I don't know how much of a minute restriction he was on because I think that game is being played right now against the Clippers, but they got Towns back, which actually means they have a competent center. The funny thing is, after the trade between D'Angelo Russell, Towns and Russell, I think, have only played like 2 games together since the trade. So we don't know what to expect. All right. So what you will expect is the fact of Minnesota plays no defense. All right. Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, those guys can up and down, but none of those guys can defend. None of them can. Okay. It's going to be a high scoring game completely. Okay. The real difference is that the rebounding issue is going to be a problem. It will also Karl-Anthony Towns' ability to get his wind and get his strength back. We'll see how many minutes he plays. Because if he gets past 25 minutes, he's already going to get a double-double. He's a double-double by effort. Okay? It is what it is. So it's seeing how he adjusts with his second game back after 13 games. And that's what we're going to see. And then after that, there's San Antonio on Sunday on Valentine's Day. And the way the Spurs have been playing, Charlotte's going to have a hard time defending that as well, too. Because San Antonio is very accurate with the three-point shot, and they know how to get their position. So, game balls tonight. Before we get out of here, it's going to be a short show tonight. Game balls tonight. Let's go ahead and give the game balls. Game ball number 1 tonight goes Terry Rozier. 34 points, 12 of 17 shooting. He had the hot start in the first half, had the three-pointer before halftime. He didn't really fill his stat sheet in 2 different places. He did get a steal and a couple assists and a couple of rebounds in 33 minutes. Like I say, he shot the lights off the ball tonight. Just too bad. Just wasn't much from anywhere else. Second game ball, Miles Bridges. Forget the negative 23 on the floor tonight. That's only because of the fact of the Grizzlies was just hitting every three-point shot when he was on the court. He did give you 15 points and 10 rebounds. The problem is he did have 4 turnovers. He led the Hornets tonight with turnovers with 4. But like I said, he had a couple of good plays tonight, and Miles shot the ball pretty well from the 3-point line as well. 2 of 4 from the line from beyond the arc. And the third game ball, we'll give it to LaMelo Ball tonight. 17 points, 5 assists for his efforts tonight with 3 steals. Listen, I mean, yeah, like I said, tonight wasn't because of LaMelo's effort because he gave it tonight. He had the 3 steals. It just wasn't his night, and his night. It just wasn't Charlotte's night. And anytime you can rest players, if you look at the numbers tonight, it's not just LaMelo didn't play heavy minutes. Gordon only played 30 minutes. Terry played 33. The majority of the minutes came from the bench in the second half because if you look at the minutes by the bench in the second half, Charlotte used what? Like I said, Melo played 10 minutes in the second half. Zeller played 4 minutes. They got 16 minutes off the bench from Miles, 12 from Malik, 10 from Caleb, 14 from Biz, and 12 from Cody. They got the majority of the minutes from the bench in the second half. It was, like I said, when you're not playing well, it's a good time to kind of, like Kenny Rogers says, you got to know when to fold them. So Mike Patton in the chat saying, I wonder what Kobe White and Zach LaVine are thinking when they see the Hornets. Well, listen, Zach LaVine plays his best basketball against Charlotte. What can I say? I mean, there's the buzzer beater among other games as well, too. And Bridges of Babylon, as Mike calls him, always is full of high energy. That is true. All right, so check the 3-point conversions Facebook page or YouTube page for post-game interviews with Coach Borrego tonight, as well as Terry Rozier. Follow us tomorrow. Like I said, we will be at practice tomorrow. I don't know who's going to be available tomorrow for the Hornets. Also, check us out on the 3pointconversion.com. Check me out on Beyond the Buzzer tomorrow night, 9 p.m. on Blackjack TV, channel 198, as well as YouTube and Facebook as well, too. Big shouts to everybody in the chat tonight. Mike, my main man, Ted, of course, for dropping the collection plate. Precious for dropping the collection plate. And Ted, if you spam my inbox on my cell phone, trust me, I will pop in on your show. Big Tuna thoughts of Utah Jazz. The Friday night show, I gave a good speech about the Jazz. I mentioned how good they've been all season. Also, big shout outs to NBA Audio in the corner for stopping through and everybody for contributing to the show tonight, as well as too. So like I said, like, share, tag the show. We appreciate you. Be back Friday night for the Timberwolves post game here on Happs for game number 27. I'm Danny Thompson with 3-point conversion, CB NBA Rider. Check you guys out on Friday. Stay safe and please wear a mask everywhere, guys, like LaMelo Ball says. Peace.